Riley Clemens is our special guest on the God Rock Show today. Welcome.
Thank you, I'm happy to be here.
Discovered at 13 years of age, and some big words like child prodigy had been mentioned around. Any pressure with that from a young age?
Yes and no. I think that anytime you start something young, you're obviously thrown into it with a perception of whatever it means to be 13 at the time. I've learned a lot, that's for sure, but it's very flattering to look back and see that I was doing a craft and honing a craft that I really was passionate about.
You were writing songs at that age as well.
Yeah.
What were you writing about at 13 years of age?
I was writing about what I was going through. Honestly, I look back and my music was very much of the time and very much of what God was showing me and what I was learning and who my friends were. It was honestly from the mouth of a 13-year-old girl.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of that.
How supportive were your parents back then? Every parent wants kids to finish school, and all of a sudden you're showing these signs of greatness in what you do. What was their reaction like?
It is a total blessing, and I feel that, I realize that. My parents were amazing. My mom grew up around music. She was in music. She has a respect for it. My dad's in healthcare, so he just likes classic rock, really. So I was always around music. When I first started having an inclination to do it, they were super supportive, and they have been ever since. It's been really amazing.
So when you said to mum and dad, hey, I think I'm going to be a singer here, any pushback at all from them?
No. Yeah. Honestly, the only pushback I ever got was my mom coming from music. She goes, you don't have to, right? And she was very much, she's always been very protective of my heart in it. And I will say it is a transformative experience to be in the music industry when you have somebody in your life as important as a mother who is looking at you constantly and reminding you, hey, you don't get your worth from this. This is amazing. We love that you're doing this, but you're worth so much more than what you're making and performing.
Tell us about your faith. How did you find Jesus?
Great question. I grew up in the church, born and raised in Nashville. We were listening to Southern gospel music, always going to church on Sunday, smock dresses, hair bows, all about it, all in. And growing up around faith is a huge privilege, for sure, to be able to be around it and have godly people in your life. But I think there comes an important moment as you're transitioning into a young adult, as your own person, where you have to decide, okay, am I going to adopt my parents' faith and take it with me, or am I going to choose to have a faith with a personal Jesus that is mine and my own? And I think around the age of 12, 13, I started feeling the need to develop a faith that was mine, that was intentional and wasn't just a hand-me-down. So I think around that time is when I really started digging into what it means to be a believer and know Jesus.
You were a really early adopter on social media. It's a good way to connect with your fans. How important is that to what you do?
Oh, the fans are everything. The people who are listening on the hard days when the industry stinks and the numbers you're tired of looking at them and you don't want to talk legal stuff and all of the logistic stuff of the music industry, when that becomes too much, the thing that keeps me going is knowing that people are listening, knowing that even if it's just one person, if one person feels less alone or is reminded that they're valuable or is reminded that they're loved, I can go to bed at night knowing I've done everything I needed to do.
Because what you, in essence, do is have a direct link to your fans.
Totally.
So they could message you, you could message back.
I try to.
Yeah. I mean, imagine, a child sitting in their bedroom at night and they get a DM from you. That would change their world.
That is the goal, is to use my platform to inspire people. I was that little kid, right? That was looking for music that would feed my spirit and point to something that reminded me that there is good in this world and that there's a good God in this world. And it's an honor to get to do that.
Talk to me about some of the bad stuff, some of the despair you see in the youth of today. If they're messaging you, what are they going through? What are they really struggling with?
I'm super passionate about mental health awareness. As somebody who has experienced it through anxiety, and as somebody who's grown up in a family where I've watched people have various struggles, whether it's depression or eating disorders, whatever it is, I'm so grateful that we live in a society that is becoming more and more open to having the conversation about mental health awareness and what it means to reach out and talk to people and be vulnerable. And I think it goes back to, we live in a world where instant gratification is so available through social media, and you like something and there it is, you're bored, let's click this and watch this, and it's all so quick. And I think sometimes we forget the people behind that have things that can't be solved in a click. And so I'm very passionate about using my platform on social media to speak about that and advocate for the people who don't know how to talk about it yet.
How do you go through your own public struggles when you're in the public eye? I mean, a bad day could turn into a bad week.
Yeah.
People are waiting for the next post from you. How do you navigate through that?
I take lots of social media breaks. Social media, we have a love-hate relationship. We love each other, but we also, like anybody else, there are a lot of downsides to social media, whether it's the comparison traps or the endless scrolling or bad news, whatever it is. It can be a really toxic place. So I think I've been really intentional about, on the bad day specifically, curating what I'm seeing.
Yeah.
If something is a triggering thing to me, if something I know is gonna dampen my day, I will typically unfollow or mute and keep my social media a really healthy place. And that helps on the bad days. And it helps me to be excited about going back on and posting and engaging with the people I care about.
Can you sort of put the bad days aside and say, okay, I'm not feeling great today, but that's going to make a great song in 3 weeks' time?
I did a TikTok about that not too long ago. The youths and their TikToks. But yes, it's so funny. The bad stuff in the moment, it's always tough, but I got a journal and I'm writing it down, and it really does become great music.
Yeah, and probably good therapy for yourself too, just to get it all down on paper.
I have a theory, and I've heard it said before, I don't know the direct quote, but it's, the darkness loses its power when you let some of the light in. And for me, journaling and writing and making music is a way to let light in on some of the tough things.
So the dream's coming true, hits on the radio, touring the world. Let's talk about the impact. What impact are you seeing with this gift that God's given you?
Gosh, I mean, I've always felt called to it. That's the honest truth. It feels like it's something a lot bigger than me. And again, it's all about the impact. I was the little kid that sat in the back of the car, so excited to hear the next song, so excited to hear females too. That's a big passion of mine.
Who were the trailblazers for you? The female artists that you were listening to back then that just inspired you to do what you do today?
CeCe Winans was a big one. Natalie Grant was another trailblazer that goes back a little bit longer. But Aretha Franklin, I remember listening to her gospel record and listening to her version of Amazing Grace and falling in love and just eating it up, and Point of Grace, just so many amazing artists. Michael W. Smith. They were just incredible trailblazers. So much good music, so much authenticity. It was all an early inspiration.
Talk to me about what the fans say to you. So you get a message from a young teenage girl who says, this song did this to me.
Ooh, I can't. I'll cry. I'm a baby when it comes to that kind of thing. I think the special thing about that is when I write, I am very intentional about trying to include all aspects of my life. I'm passionate about being the type of Jesus lover who has Jesus in every nook and cranny and sector of what I'm going through, whether it's at church on Sunday, or whether it's a breakup, or whether it's a friendship, or whether it's mental health. I really do try to invite Jesus into all of those corners of everything. And I think it reflects in the music with songs like Headspace, that was such a mental health anthem, and Healing, which was another song I wrote for my sister about something she was walking through. And so when I hear people relating to those different sectors, it makes me feel like God has me. It reminds me that God has me exactly where I should be.
What's it like when you write a song about or for your sister? Do you get a knock on the bedroom door saying, that sounds very familiar?
She has, at the moment, 2 songs I've written for her, 2 of the titles of them tattooed. So
She's happy.
She's happy.
Yeah.
She's happy. One of them is called Healing, which is a special song, and another is called Remember Who You Are. And she's a muse. She's always been a muse for me.
Isn't that impressive, though, that you can impact a random teenager somewhere, but you can also impact your own sister or your own family?
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
It really does. That's the ministry part of it that you just want to hold on to and squeeze every single moment out of. You go back to the foundational elements of what was in the Bible, and it was all about the impact, and Jesus had the conversation with the one, aside from all the masses that he impacted. He cared about the one. He cared about that conversation. He cared about knowing their heart, and I think that is such an important part about the mission of what I'm trying to do.
So through your eyes, your heart, your experience, how do you then present Jesus to the world?
God is good. Jesus is kind. Jesus is for everybody. It's not an exclusive club you have to bang the door down to get in on. It's not. I think that the best part about Jesus is that he is kind enough to meet people where they are. And so I want to encourage the people that feel like they don't look like they belong in church or come from somewhere that looks like they belong in church. Whatever it is, I want to be a reminder that you don't have to be a certain type of person to be loved and welcomed by Jesus.
You might be surprised that people watching for the very first time, they've just come across you, you've got a whole back catalogue of hits and you've got hits to come. What's your message of hope and inspiration for them as they just discover you for the first time?
That's good. That's a good question. Where are they? They're right there? Okay, I'll say it to your face because it really matters. You are not alone in this world. You are so deeply loved. And even on the hard days, there is somebody that cares about you. And there's a God that really, really cares about you. So my dad has always told me this, and this has been a foundational thing for me since day one. If you don't know how to make it through the next day, make it through the next hour. If you don't know how to make it through the next hour, get through the next minute. You can break that down as small as you need to, but just take the next baby step, and that's valid. That's good stuff.